All right, Shabbos, say good morning. Let us begin by thanking our sponsors this morning. To thank our TALMUD TORAH sponsor, Shmuel Leba Dinovitz, for dedicating all the Shir and Drushos this month in the zechus and an aliyah for the neshama of HaRav Peretz Avraham ben Harav Benyamin Moshe Zichron Livracha. We thank our Daf Yomi sponsors today, Dovid and Sarah Leipnik, in commemoration of the first yahrzeit of Sarah's father, Paul Kalish, Melech Yona ben יודel Dov Zichrona Livracha, and Jacob and Julie Blumenfeld, Le'iloi Nishmas, Jacob's grandmother, Henna bas Mordechai Zichrona Livracha. We hope that in the merit of our TALMUD Torah, all of the neshamas will have an aliyah and the families in neshama. So with that, let us begin. Again, we have an incredible and beautiful, overwhelmingly fantastic daf today. In Maseches Kesuvos, we are doing Daf Hey. We are picking up in yahrzeit on the bottom of Daled Amud Beis, 2 lines up from the bottom. So we'll say some very interesting sugyas today. Sorry, this is right. Okay, so we'll say 2 lines up from the bottom, Daled Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, Amar Mar, Benkach ubenkach lo yivo. So we'll say, I know that I owe you the halacha l'maisa. We have a little bit of outstanding halacha l'maisa from yesterday's daf, specifically concerning what to do with the halachos concerning the avelos that occurs with the father of the chassan or the mother of the kala on the day of the wedding. Remember, again, the Gemara outlined a fascinating progression of events. Machnisin as hameis lecheder, chassan v'kala lechupa, kvura bia rishona, what the order of we'll call bia rishona kvura, 7 days of sheva brachas, 7 days of avelos. Emeretz Hashem, we'll come back. We're not finished with that sugya yet. I want to show you the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch. They're quite interesting. So Amar, benkach ubenkach lo yivo lo be'erev Shabbos lo motzei Shabbos. We'll say, in the brisa that we were quoting in yesterday's daf, the Gemara recorded a very interesting statement. And the Gemara said, Benkach ubenkach, either way, halacha l'maisa, bia rishona, should not happen on Erev Shabbos, nor should it happen on Motzei Shabbos. So Rabbosai, here's what's interesting. Erev Shabbos in this context means Friday night. Motzei Shabbos is Saturday night. Motzei Shabbos. So b'shlom be'erev Shabbos mishum chabura. Rabbosai, I understand why Bia Rishona can't happen on Erev Shabbos because of chabura. Now Rabbosai, we're going to talk about this. The assumption is that if a woman is a basula, so the first act of Bia ruptures the basulim, right? Ruptures the hymen. So as a result of that, there's bleeding and there's an injury. So Rabbi say the halacha is that it is prohibited to go ahead and cause an injury on Shabbos. Right? Rabbi say again, actually, interestingly enough, if you go out and you cause an injury and cause someone to bleed, that is the malacha of shchita. Causing someone to bleed is a malacha of shchita. So it says the Gemara, we'll get into this more, but says the Gemara, I understand why Bia Rishona can't happen on Friday night, because ultimately, again, chabura, causing a wound, causing an injury. Why can't Bia Rishona occur on Motzei Shabbos? To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Zera says, top of hey, mishum chashbonos. So it's very interesting. Why can't Bia Rishona get mad? Now, by the way, when we say also Bia Rishona can't occur on Motzei Shabbos, the Gemara is also presupposing that what else is occurring on Motzei Shabbos? The chasana. So really what it's saying over here, on the Erev Shabbos case, the chasana could be happening on Friday, which interestingly enough, you should know, is now becoming popular again in Eretz Yisrael. Friday chasanas. We'll talk about that actually. We'll see the godless, the incredible wisdom in that type of wedding. So now I understand for the Erev Shabbos, the wedding's happening Erev Shabbos, and then the Gemara is telling me Bia Rishona should not happen Friday night. When the Gemara says and Bia Rishona shouldn't happen Motzei Shabbos, what that also means is you shouldn't do a chasana on Motzei Shabbos. Why not? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Zera, mishum chashbonos. Now take a look at Tap Rashi. Mishum chashbonos, shem yichnos lemotzei Shabbos, because if a person is getting married on Motzei Shabbos, Yaseh su'uda balayla, person's going to be making a wedding feast at night. The Yachshov b'Shabbos ma'u tzarich lahotzi uksiv daber davar. We did this not so long ago in Smichas Chaver. So as I say, interestingly enough, Salocha Lamaisa, if you're making a chasana on Shabbos, what are you going to be thinking? I'm sorry, on Motzei Shabbos, what are you going to be thinking about on Shabbos? How many guests? What's the cost? Did I order enough food? Right? And I will say the whole idea is that on Shabbos, one is not supposed to be occupied with we'll call it mundane thoughts. Right? Now, the Gemara is calling mundane thoughts like how much money this is going to cost me, or how many people I have, or did I tell the caterer the right numbers? So the Gemara says, that must be the reason that you can't go ahead and get married on Motzei Shabbos, because of cheshbonos. Because Amar le Abai says, 1 second, the cheshbonos shal mitzvah mi asiri. But 1 second, I will say cheshbonos like this are cheshbonos shal mitzvah. Right? This is actually this. It's true that there's cheshbonos. I will say cheshbonos. You know, the good English word is like I think the translation is often calculations, right, or accounting for things. But this is cheshbonos of mitzvah, and one is permitted to be preoccupied with cheshbonos of mitzvah on Shabbos. After I will say very interesting Gemara. Vaha Rav Chisda Avraham Nuna Darmi Tarvayu cheshbonos shal mitzvah mutar lachashvon b'Shabbos. It is permitted to go ahead and do cheshbonos. I will say so again. Even engage in financial matters that are related to a mitzvah. In other words, on Shabbos, one is permitted to engage in financial matters if those financial matters are linked to a mitzvah. So the Gemara says, let's give some examples of this. V'amar Belazar, poskin tzedakah la'aniyim b'Shabbos. Rabbi say you're allowed to pledge tzedakah. Now, by the way, I'll say the whole yisod, why are you allowed to do appeals, right, on Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? Shuls do appeals, right? You raise money. Why are you allowed to raise money on Shabbos? You see why? Because Lamais, again, any money, any type of financial cheshbonos that are related to mitzvah is permitted to do on Shabbos. So you're allowed to go and raise money for tzedakah on Shabbos. Am Rabbi Yaakov, Am Rabbi Yochanan, holchim lebate knesios ulebate midrashos lifakeach al iskei rabbim b'Shabbos. You're allowed to go to shuls. You're allowed to go to bate medrash to go ahead and take care of communal matters on Shabbos. Va'am Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi Am Rabbi Yochanan mefakhin al pikuach nefesh. Now, both say it's interesting over here. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says mefakhin motziin la'or. You're allowed to go to shuls, to batei medrash, to talk about issues of pikuach nefesh. Now, both say the Maharsha points out over here, says it can't literally be pikuach nefesh, because if it's pikuach nefesh, right, against saving lives, then that's obvious. That's obvious. What it means is that on Shabbos, you're allowed to go to batei medrash, you're allowed to go to shuls, ultimately, again, to go ahead and deal with matters of communal importance. That's the idea. And even though often matters of communal importance involve what? Money. Right? They always involve money. Halacha l'maaseh, you're allowed to do that on Shabbos. Why? Because dealing with money related to mitzvah purposes, mitzvah initiatives, right? Mitzvah dealings is permitted on Shabbos. Similarly, again, Vam Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Am Rabbi Yochanan, holchin litratios ulekarkios lefakeach al iskei rabbim b'Shabbos. I will say similarly again, you're allowed to go. Tartios are amphitheaters. Karkios are the circuses. In other words, in this case, you're actually going to places where non-Jews are gathering in order to discuss with officials matters of communal importance. You could even take, now that's not necessarily financial in nature, but that's talking about, again, how you're allowed to take care of the needs of the klal on Shabbos as well. So we'll say, again, so this one, and we're not finished yet. The Tanya ben Menashia said, Mishatchin ala tinokos, the ares b'Shabbos. Rabbi, you're allowed to make shiduchim on Shabbos. Now, even though, again, often arranging matches on Shabbos also required what? Financial arrangements, right? Again, I will say they don't mean it like the way we do it today, where lemaisa, again, a shidduch is just, hey, I think this one should go out with that one, or this one should. Mishatchin means they would arrange matches. But part of arranging those matches is also, again, going ahead and saying, all right, I'm going to commit this amount of money. You're going to commit that amount of money. You have to do that on Shabbos. Valatinok lelamdo sefer. So you can go ahead and make arrangements for your child to learn Torah. So let's say I find a Rebbe for my son I could go ahead and make the arrangements, including how much I'm going to pay that Rebbe, and I'm allowed to make those arrangements on Shabbos. Ula lamdo umnos. Or I will say, for that matter, if I want my son to learn a trade, I'm allowed to go ahead and arrange for that trade to be learned. I'm allowed to make the arrangements for my son's trade Rebbe on Shabbos. I will say, now, what's the common denominator amongst all of these things? These are all considered to be mitzvah purposes. I will say, it is a mitzvah to teach your child to be self-sufficient. It is a mitzvah to teach your child to have an occupation, to teach your child to have a way to support himself when he grows up. So that's why, again, I will say, even this is called a mitzvah purpose, and that's why I will say it's pretty incredible, right? You would not think that you'd be allowed to go ahead and, right, my son wants to be a carpenter, so I could go ahead, my son wants to be a lawyer, I could go a doctor, I could find him somewhere to apprentice, and I could make those arrangements on Shabbos. Because Lamaisi and Abosai, these are all considered to be mitzvah matters. So let's loop this full circle. Bryce said that you can't get married on Motzei Shabbos, right? Rabbi Zera said, why can't you get married on Motzei Shabbos? What did he say? Mishum, one word, cheshbonos, right? Because your mind is going to be preoccupied with financial considerations. Says Gemara, so what? So what? In other words, getting married is a mitzvah, and one is permitted to be preoccupied with financial considerations that are linked to a mitzvah on Shabbos. Or I should say, on Shabbos, one is permitted to be preoccupied with certain financial considerations if they're of a mitzvah nature. So if that's the case, getting married on Motzei Shabbos should be absolutely permitted because getting married is a mitzvah. And I will say, it's actually interesting, by the way, we'll discuss, is getting married a mitzvah or not? So it's actually a fascinating discussion which we will get into, which is there a mitzvah in marriage, or is marriage what we call a hechsher mitzvah? Like marriage is what enables one to fulfill mitzvah. Meaning, in other words, is there a mitzvah of marriage, or do we say no? There's no mitzvah of marriage. There's a mitzvah to what? To have children. And the mitzvah is to have children in the context of a marital relationship. Getting married is the hechsher. Kind of like there's no mitzvah to purchase lulav and esrog. But in order to go ahead and take lulav and esrog on the first day of Sukkot, you have to what? You have to have it. So buying it, purchasing it is the hechsher mitzvah. So we'll see. Right now it's clear, according to the Gemara, that halacha l'maaseh getting married is a mitzvah. Getting married is a mitzvah, and therefore, again, thinking about the financial considerations of marriage on Shabbos should be permitted. Elam Rabbi Zera says, you're right. It's not cheshbonos. So what's the concern with getting married on Motzei Shabbos? Am Rabbi Zera, Gezerah Shema Yishchot Ben Of. Interesting enough, what are we concerned about? You're going to come to shecht the bird on Shabbos. Everyone said, what does that mean? If you look at Rashi, Shema Yishchat Ben Of, B'Shabbos L'tzorach Motzei Shabbos, Sheitarud V'Yishkach Shehu Shabbos. So Rabbi say, what are we concerned about? You're going to be so preoccupied with the wedding that night, with the upcoming wedding that night, that you're going to inadvertently shecht a bird to prepare it for that night's Su'udah. Rabbi say, why a bird? So again, here the Maharsha comments, Rabbi say, because a bird is something that you could shecht relatively quickly, right? And without thinking about it. In other words, Rabbi say, we assume that when do people end up doing malacha on Shabbos? When something could happen quickly and you don't give it a lot of thought. So I will say, if you have to wrestle that cow to the ground, chances are by the time you get it on its side and get it pinned and ready to shecht it, you're going to say, hey, I think it's Shabbos, right? In other words, I'll say that I'm going to remember that. Because the shechita of an oaf could happen so quickly, that's where there's the concern. So Rabbi Zera, so we'll say, again, Sim Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera abandons cheshbonos. It's not about cheshbonos, but rather, again, it's about a concern, and I will say this is just an example. If I know that I have the chasana on Motzei Shabbos on Saturday night, right after Shabbos, the concern is I may come to inadvertently do malacha in preparation for the wedding without really thinking. Good, so says the Gemara, this is very interesting. So Abai said, that's the concern. Yom Kippurim shechalios b'sheni b'Shabbos yidcha gezerah shema yishchat ben of. Fascinating. Rabbi Zera says, well, if that's the case, then when Yom Kippur falls out on Monday, you really should push it to Tuesday, lest you come to shecht. Now, what is that? I will say, watch this. When Yom Kippur falls out on Monday, so Erev Yom Kippur is on Sunday, there's a mitzvah to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. So maybe we should be concerned that in anticipation of Erev Yom Kippur, Matzei Shabbos Sunday, right, where there's a mitzvah to eat, a person may inadvertently end up shechting a bird in order to be prepared for the mitzvah of eating on Erev Yom Kippur. To which the Gemara says, no, come on. Hasam de lenafshe lo tarid, hacha de la'acherim tarid. That's actually a very beautiful answer. The Gemara says, here's the difference. In Yom Kippur, I'm worried about myself. Right? I know that I have to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. I'm not concerned, therefore, that a person is going to end up doing malacha on Shabbos to ready themselves for Erev Yom Kippur. But say Chassan is a little bit different. Why is the Chassan a little bit different? Because I'm expecting guests. So that's when a person is preoccupied, and that's when a person may inadvertently begin to slaughter on Shabbos in anticipation for the guests arriving on Matzei Shabbos. And Rabbi say, by the way, it's such a beautiful line as well. Hasam de lenafshe lo tarid, de la'acherim tarid. Rabbi say, sometimes the best way to live life is don't be preoccupied with yourself. De lenafshe lo tarid. Don't make life about you. Don't make life about you. The best thing we can do in life is avoid an egocentric, self-centered existence. So what kind of life should I lead? De la'acherim tarid. Be the kind of person ultimately, again, who is focused and preoccupied with what they could do to help the other. Inami, the other possibility is, why aren't we concerned about Erev Yom Kippur and Matzei Shabbos? Is le'ravcha, hacha les le'ravcha. I will say here's also another fundamental difference, which is what? I will say, on Matzei Shabbos, right, when Erev Yom Kippur is on Sunday, I have a whole day Sunday, right? In other words, I would say generally, even those who are very, very, very machmir to eat the whole day on Erev Yom Kippur, everybody's going to be machmir about something, right? So machmir to eat on Erev Yom Kippur, they're not usually getting started the night before, right? They usually get started day of, so you have time after Shabbos. In the case of the wedding, where the wedding is mamish on Matzei Shabbos, that's where there's a concern that what? That halacha l'maisa you'll come to shecht on Shabbos itself. Incredible. So it says the Gemara Hashta the asis lahachi. So we'll say, so now here's what comes. So now we seem to have an understanding. Why can't they? Why do we say that a person shouldn't get married? I will say it's not that you can't. In other words, if you get married on Matzei Shabbos, are you married? Does the chassan work? Does the marriage work? Yes. Chazal is saying we don't want you to get married on Matzei Shabbos. Why not? On a simple level, makes sense. We're concerned you're going to inadvertently begin with the preparations on Shabbos itself. You're going to be preoccupied. Good. Says Hashta da asis lahachi. Now that we came to this, Erev Shabbos nami gzeira shem yishchot benov. The truth is, Rabbi said, this might even be the reason that ideally you shouldn't get married Erev Shabbos also. Maybe Erev Shabbos also, Rabbi said, the concern is that what? So Rabbi says, we're going to see when they got married at Erev Shabbos was a great chap. Because what did they do? They would get married later Friday afternoon, and the wedding su'udah would be the Shabbos su'udah. So it was one meal. Instead of preparing a wedding feast and a Shabbos feast, it was the same su'udah. So maybe the concern over here, even getting married on Erev Shabbos, is that what? Your wedding preparations will spill into Shabbos itself, and you may come to inadvertently shecht on Shabbos. Okay, so we'll say, even though again it seems to be that the concern of getting married on Erev Shabbos was really the issue of the Bia Rishona occurring on Shabbos itself, Mishum Chabura, because of causing an injury. But the Gemara says, maybe not. Maybe the reason for both Matzei Shabbos and Shabbos is the same, lest you come to do Malach on Shabbos itself. Incredible. So we'll say, let's go back to Ibai Lahu. Besula Nises Biravi, the Nevelas Biravi, Velo Chashin Lekure Daita, O Dilma Besula Nises Biravi, the Nevelas Bechamishi, the Chashinan Lekure Daita. So I will say, I'm going to show you something very interesting over here. Going back to the first Mishnah, right? Our first Mishnah said that Pesula Nises Yom Ravi. Pesula gets married on Wednesday. Why? So that if there is a Tainos Besulim, if there's a claim that she wasn't a Besula, Beis Din is in session on Thursday morning, the husband could bring the claim to Beis Din immediately. Then I both say, why does it have to occur immediately? Remember again, Rashi on Beis Amud Aleph, because if it doesn't occur immediately, what are we concerned for? Ekrurei daite. ikrure daite, have a cooling down period, and again, he's just not going to be upset about it anymore and won't pursue the potential issue. Maybe issue, may not potential issue. So that's an interesting question. So I will say, when do we say the Bia Rishona has to occur? Is it that the Bia Rishona has to occur effectively Thursday night? Or as I will say, they get married Wednesday day, and the Bia Rishona occurs, for our purpose, we'll just call it Wednesday night, and therefore if there's a claim, they go to Beis Din Thursday morning, but they can't have Bia Rishona on Wednesday during the day. In other words, let's say they get married Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, right? So maybe the Bia Rishona can't be Wednesday day because there's a concern of what? Once again, a cooling off period, too much time in between the Bia and Beis Din. That's the Shaila. So the Gemara says, Tashma. So again, does Bia Rishona have to happen Wednesday night? Because then there's no concern of cooling off period, but it can't happen by day? Or that no, it could even happen by day, even Wednesday day. And again, we're not concerned about a cooling off period in between Wednesday day and Thursday morning. That's the Shaila. So Tashma, we'll say, let's analyze Tashma, the Tani Bar Kafra, Bisulini says, Biravi'i. Bar Kafra said as follows: a Bisula gets married on a Wednesday, V'neveles b'chamishi. Oh, I will say, listen to this. You see what just happened over here? In Bar Kafra's version, he taught it like this. A Bisula gets married Wednesday during the day, and ultimately, when does Bia happen, or when should Bia happen? What we call Wednesday night. But in Halacha, Wednesday night is already what? Is already Thursday. So Bar Kafra says, really, the Bia should not happen by day. And I will say, Bia by day might have other halachic issues, which we'll talk about, but we're not getting into that right now. The point over is that Bar Kafra says that the Bia really has to occur by night. So I will say, now why? Now listen to this. Hoil v'ne'em rabo bracha lidagim. So this is very interesting, because I will say Thursday is the day that in Bereshis, where Hashem created the fish, and ultimately, again, I should say, where Hashem gave the bracha to the fish. Look at Rashi, bracha ledagim, peru uravu umil'u es hamayim. So we'll say on Thursday, the bracha of fish is mentioned. So therefore, again, the Bia Rishona should occur ultimately, again, on Thursday, what we're calling Wednesday night, Thursday, ultimately, again, because that's the day where there's the bracha for fish. Okay, we'll come back to that in just a moment. Almana nises bechamishi, v'nevelas b'shishi, and Almana should get married on a Thursday, and the Bia should occur when? Thursday night, what we call already Friday. Since Shabbos say on Friday is the day ultimately, again, where Hashem gave the bracha to Adam of Peru Ravu. Be fruitful and multiply. So to which the Gemara says, what do you see from here? Time of Mishabracha. Now the reason Bar Kafra says that when you marry a Basula, you get married on a Wednesday, and the Bia should happen Wednesday night, Thursday. Why? Because Thursday it says the bracha for fish, the bracha for dagim. The reason Bar Kafra seems to say that the Bia Rishona should happen on Thursday, on Wednesday night, Thursday, is why? Because of the bracha. But it's not because of what? Because we're concerned that if the Bia happens on Wednesday, he's going to cool down from his anger by the time ultimately Thursday morning rolls around. If that's the case, so the Gemara says, so it appears from here, just again, based on this, it appears that halacha l'maisa, if the couple gets married on a Wednesday, there's not a problem with the Bia happening Wednesday during the day, because we assume that even if for some reason there are no besulim, there's not going to be a sufficient cooling down period between Wednesday during the day and Thursday morning. The husband will still pursue the potential issue in Beis Din come Thursday morning. The only reason why we're pushing for the Bia to be Thursday night, or what we'll call Wednesday night Thursday, instead of Wednesday day is why? Because Wednesday night Thursday, that day of creation, had the bracha for fish of Peru Uravu. Okay, to which the Gemara says, by the way, so we'll say, so why, let's go back for just a second to what Bar Kafra said. So Bar Kafra said, Na'amana gets married on Thursday during the day, and the Bia should happen Thursday night, Friday, because Friday, day 6 of creation, is when it says the bracha of Peru or Avu for Adam, for man. So why don't we say that the Almana should have Bia on Thursday? Because Thursday is the day that it says Peru or Avu, the bracha for Dagim. minhagim, to which the Gemara says, bracha da adam adifale. We'll say it's better for her, right? Obviously, the pruah revu, the bracha for man is obviously better for the bracha than adam. So let's remember again. See, you'll say to yourself, well, if that's the case, why don't we say that a basula should also have her bia rishona on Friday? Pruah revu for adam. What's the answer? You need Beis Din. Remember again, because basula has a different construct. By basula, we always want the bia rishona to take place the night before Beis Din is in session. Should there be a tainas besulim, we need Beis Din to be in session. An almana obviously doesn't have that issue, right? It's not her bia rishona. So therefore, again, halacha l'maisa, if that's the case, we set it up, get married on a Thursday, let bia rishona be on a Friday. Friday is a good day because it says pruah revu for adam. Beautiful. Says the Gemara. Say furthermore again, there's another issue by almana. This is very beautiful. We'll say, why do we want an almana to get married on a Thursday and the bia rishona to be on Thursday night, what we call Thursday night Friday, because of shaktu? But remember again, we had shaktu on Daf Beis. What was shaktu? The Chachamim were concerned for the welfare of Jewish women. Now we saw by Bisula, that one of the reasons, even though using the logic of the first Mishnah, a Basula should be able to get married when? Not just Wednesday, but when else? Sunday. Shaktu Chacham, the Chacham were concerned, they wanted a Jewish woman to have a nice wedding, and because of that, you need 3 days to prepare for a nice wedding. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, get married on Wednesday. If she got married on Sunday, there's not really sufficient time to prepare. There's also a shaktu by almana. Listen to this. Tisanya. Why is it that we said that an almana gets married on a Thursday and bia rishona should happen Friday night? What we call Thursday night. Thursday night, Friday. Shem'ata omer tibal b'chamish Shabbos. Listen to this. Because if you say the bia rishona happens on Thursday during the day, lemachar mashkim le'um naso. We'll say what's going to happen the next morning? He's going to go to work, right? The guy's going to go to work. Otherwise, we'll say if the bia rishona happens on Thursday during the day, the next morning he's going to go to work. Remember again, I'll say this is second marriage, right? He's happen a day of work, so we don't want that. So I will say, even though we're going to talk about this, there's no sheva brachas by a second marriage, right? If it's a second marriage for both husband and wife, no sheva brachas. So if they were to get married on Thursday during the day and bia rishona were to happen Thursday during the day, he might actually go to work on Friday. And Chazal said, even though there's no sheva brachas in the second marriage, they wanted the husband to be attentive to his wife. So listen to this. Shaktu chamat techanas b'nos Yisrael, shesameach ima shlosha yamim. They wanted a chassan and kala, right? Even though again it's a second marriage, to be together, to spend time together for at least 3 days. What are the 3 days? Chamishi b'Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, B'Shabbos, Wednesday, Thursday. The assumption is he's not going to work the day of the chasana, right? So Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. Then I will say, what's the chap? You see, the assumption is actually, it's a very beautiful Gemara. The assumption is that if the bia rishona between husband and wife happens on Thursday night, Friday, so there's going to be that connection, that intimate connection. He's not going to want to leave her Friday. So therefore, again, he'll take off from work on Friday, and I'll be with her, and I'll spend time with her on Friday. But Lamaisa, the bia rishona happens on Thursday during the day, so it could very well be, again, that intimacy happened during the day, that connection happened during the day, and already by the next morning, he's going to go to work. So in order to ensure that they spend at least 3 consecutive days with each other, Chazal said, let the bia rishona for the amana be Thursday night. Thursday the chasana, Friday the closeness from the intimacy will still be there. He'll take off from work, and of course Shabbos is Shabbos. Such a beautiful Gemara. So they both say the Gemara says ma'ika bein bracha l'shakdu. So I will say, so now there are 2 different reasons why we said an almana should get married on Thursday and the bia rishona should be on a Friday, right? Thursday night, which is already Friday. So I will say why. Reason number 1 is because Friday is the day in which it said the bracha for Puru Revu by Adam, and therefore let the bia rishona for an almana be on the day of Friday Puru Revu. And the second reason was why? That the husband shouldn't go to work. So we'll say, so nu, what's the nafkamina? Ma'ika bein bracha l'shakdu, ika beinayu Adam batal. We'll say, nafkamina number 1 is she married a guy who doesn't have a job. Big red flag. But Lemaisa, again, he's finding himself. He's still finding himself. He's not sure what he wants to do yet. Right? And I'll say, you're 40, right? Okay, all right, whatever. Right? So I'll say, so Lemaisa, again, he doesn't have a job. So if he doesn't have a job anyway, he's not waking up for work, okay? So the Gemara says, other possibility is, Inami Yom Tov Shchalios B'Erev Shabbos. We'll say the other possibility is that Friday is Yom Tov. Friday's Yom Tov, so he wouldn't be going to work anyway. Okay, those would be the nafkaminas. I will say, so I'll just point out this is very interesting. So really beautiful Gemara over here. So the Gemara is highlighting over here in this particular Yesod is that halacha l'maisa and almana should get married on a Thursday, but the Bia Rishona should be on a Friday, because Friday is the day in which it says Peru or Avu for Adam. Now I will say, also point out this is very beautiful. So the Gemara also said, a Besula, we know, gets married on a Wednesday. But according to, with that we know, Bar Kafra said the Bia Rishona should really happen on Wednesday night, which is Thursday. Why Thursday? Because halacha l'maisa, Thursday is the day in which it says Peru or Avu for fish. But so you say to yourself, so what? What does it have to do with anything? So there's a beautiful Rashi, not here, but Rashi and Chumash, in Bereshis, that says fish, ayin hara is not sholet bedagim. There is no ayin hara by fish, because ultimately, again, since the fish are covered by the water, there's no ayin hara. So we'll say, what does that have to do with anything? So it's something amazing. What's the concept of ayin hara? Right? So we'll say evil eye. So we'll say, we've still done this before, but I think often this concept is a little bit misunderstood. Ayin hara means as follows. If a person has a bracha, a particular bracha, and you enjoy that bracha in a way which causes other people pain. Let's say a person has wealth, and they flaunt that wealth to the point that other people who don't have wealth feel pain when seeing their wealth. And you can fill in the blank. Person is zocha to have children, and they talk about their kids, and they're talking to someone who doesn't have children, or whatever. You fill in the blank. If your bracha causes another Jew pain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I didn't give you that bracha to cause someone else pain. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chas V'Shalom takes back that bracha. That's the concept of ayin hara. If my bracha causes someone else who doesn't have that bracha pain, Kalish Baruch Hu says that is the worst kind of misuse and abuse. I will say the whole point of having brachas in life is you're supposed to use them to make other people's lives better. Whatever bracha you have, that is supposed to be your enabler to do more for the other. But if my bracha becomes a source of pain for someone else, that's where ayin hara comes in. Kalish Baruch Hu says, you're using your bracha to cause pain to someone else, I'm taking it back. So it's incredible. What do we say to a chassan and kala? Bia Rishona should be, right? Your chasana, right? Wednesday, Bia Rishona on Thursday, where there is the bracha of Pru or Avu for dagim. Just like no one sees what the fish are doing, and therefore there's no ayin hara, be, what's the word? Not inconspicuous. Be discreet with your brachas in life. Be discreet. I will say people sometimes have this yetzahara to flaunt their brachas, to flaunt what they have. Don't do that. Enjoy what you have. Be thankful with what you have, but be discreet with your brachas. Just like the dagim, just like the fish. That's the bracha we give to the chassan and kala. Enjoy this beautiful bracha, but prove like the dagim, be discreet in ultimately, again, how you utilize. Rabbi says, go weiter. Darash Bar Kafra, Rabbi says so much incredible Gemara today. Darash Bar Kafra, Gidola Ma'aseh Tzadikim Yosei Ma'aseh Shemayim Va'aretz. Listen to this. The actions of the tzadikim are even greater than the creation of the heavens. This is wild. The ilu b'ma'aseh shemayim va'aretz ksiv. I will say when it comes to the creation of heaven and earth, what does the pasuk say? So I will say the pasuk says, quoting over here from Yeshaya, Af yodi yasta aretz v'mini tipqa shamayim. Suppose to listen to this. When it talks about creation of heaven and earth, it uses the lashon of singular. God says, with my hand, I created singular. First wide line on the bottom. When it comes to the handiwork of the righteous, what does it say? Ksiv, machol mishiftecha pa'alta Hashem mikdash Hashem koninu yadecha. So I will say when it comes to the building of the Beis HaMikdash, right, ultimately done by the tzadikim, it uses the lashon of plural, hands. So Rabbi say, listen to this. So when it comes to the handiwork of Hashem, it uses lashon singular, my hand. When it comes to the actions of tzadikim, it uses the plural of hands. So from here, Bar Kafra says, Rabbi says that's connection over here. It's all Bar Kafra. Bar Kafra says that you see from here that the actions of tzadikim are even greater than the actions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wild. So the Gemara says, Heishiv Bavlecha Reb Chia Shmo. But there was a certain Babylonian Reb Chia said, Bar Kafra, it's not true. V'yabesh as Yadav Yatzaru. So we'll say, it says, Chashon Baruch Hu created the land, Yadav, hands, plural, to which the Gemara says, Yadoksiv. But it's written as Yado, which could be read as the singular. I have a Haksiv Yatzro, says created, plural. Amram Nachar Bar Yitzchak, Yatzra Etzba'osav. It means he created with his fingers. The fingers are separate. The fingers are plural, but it's only one hand. Kidichsiv, ki ereh shamecha, ma'ase etzba'osecha, yarech v'kochavim asher konanto. I says, Gemara Meisvei, so both say, so again, all Bar Kafra. And Bar Kafra's theme is, whenever it speaks about the creation of Hashem, it uses the lotion of one hand. When it speaks about the creations of tzaddikim, two hands. So you see from here that the creations of tzaddikim are even greater than the creations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We'll explain what that means in just a moment. Meisvei, where is the kasha? No, I'm sorry, second Meisvei. Hashemayim sapim kivod kel umasei yadav magid arakia. Also here it uses plural. Masei yadav. Ultimately the handiwork of his hands. The earth, the sky will tell. So the Gemara's Hagi Kamar, Masei yadem shel tzaddikim mi magid. Now, say here, actually, interestingly enough, the Ma'aseh Yadav over here is not a reference to Hashem's handiwork, but rather to the handiwork of the tzaddikim. Who testifies, or what testifies to the righteous actions of the tzaddikim? So the Gemara says, Mi Magid Harakia, the heavens. How so? My Nihu Matar. This is beautiful. So the Gemara is darshaning over here, Ma'aseh Yadav Magid Harakia means the litmus test for the righteousness of the tzaddikim of the generation is the heavens. Meaning what? Rainfall. Rainfall. If the rain falls, that shows that tzaddikim are righteous. If the rain doesn't fall, that means that tzaddikim of the generation are not righteous. Umayni, so the Gemara says, Darsh Bar Kafra, Mai Dichsiv. So we'll say, so let's stop there for just a moment. So we'll say, so by the way, so what does this mean, right? What does this mean that the handiwork, such a profound, Gedolim Maaseh Tzaddikim, Yosir Maaseh Shemayim V'aretz, that the handiwork of Hashem, the Maaseh Yadayim of the tzaddikim is even greater than Hashem's creation of heaven and earth. What's the pshat? We'll say, it's very simple. You see, whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu whatever Shamayim V'aretz is perfect. Is perfect. That which Hashem creates is perfect. The tzaddikim have even a higher avoda. What's the avoda of a tzaddik, Rabosai? The avoda of a tzaddik is to take that which is imperfect and perfect it. To take that which is incomplete and complete it. See, Rabosai, it's incredible to create something perfect. It's even better to take something that is imperfect and complete. Rabbi said, we're learning this on Thursday night in the Chalban Shir, which is a must. It's an absolute must. Only if you want to be a good Jew. If you don't want to be a good Jew, you don't have to. Right? Rabbi say, so again, absolute must. We're learning the Chalban. The Chalban is talking about this very yesod. Hashamayim, shamayim la'Hashem, v'ha'aretz nasan livnei Adam. Shamayim is perfect. Aretz nasan livnei Adam. Why did Hashem give us the earth? To take that which is imperfect and to go ahead and perfect it. That's what Bar Kafra is saying. What the tzaddikim do is kiviyachol even greater than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the Ribono Shel Olam creates perfect things. That's fantastic. What's even better than creating perfect things is perfecting the imperfect, is completing the incomplete. I will say that's the greatest avoda in life. Taking something that is in a state of disrepair, taking something that is incomplete, taking something that is imperfect, and fixing it, perfecting it, completing it, that is the most incredible accomplishment that a human being could achieve on this earth. The Gemara goes weiter. Darish Bar Kafra, Mai Dichsiv, V'yasei Tia Lecha Lazenecha. So what's the interesting pasuk? This pasuk about Sayin Dvarim is a very simple halacha. V'yasei. I will say we often translate yahrzeit as a shovel. It actually, here they're translating it as a spike. You should always keep a spike with your tools. I will say, what's the Pashup Shad? Pashup Shad meant soldiers. When you go out to war, always keep a spike or a shovel with you. Why? Because if you have to relieve yourself, if you have to defecate, you could dig a hole, right? Take care of your needs and then cover it back up. This is part of the theme, V'haya Machanecha Kadosh, that the camp of the Jewish army has to be a holy camp. Has to be a holy camp. So Rabbi says, so beautiful. Al tikri al azenecha. Don't read it as on your belt, right? Azenecha on your side, right? Referring to like the tools the soldiers carry with him. Ela al aznecha. Wow. Rabbi say, listen to this pasuk. V'yaseit yelecha al aznecha means always keep a spike by your ears. What does that mean? Shemishma adam davar sheino hagun. Rabbi say, if you hear something that's not appropriate, what should you do? Yaniach etzba'o ba'aznav. Wow. Rabbi say, v'yaseit tieh lecha al azenecha. What's the yaseit? What's the spike? It's your finger. It's your finger. Always keep your fingers close to your ears, because this way, if you hear something you're not supposed to hear, right, or you know you're about to hear something you're not supposed to hear, just put the finger in the air. Just block it out. Just block it out. Why is a person's finger like a yahrzeit, like a spike? To which the Gemara says, what does that mean? Why is like a spike? Are you asking why fingers are separate? Like, in other words, why is each finger separate from each other and each finger a different size? That's a different halacha. Kol chada v'chada l'mil savida. I will say, created each finger a different size because each finger serves a different purpose. I will say, for example, it's actually quite beautiful. Zu zeres. So I will say, ultimately, again, the zeres, which is the pinky finger. So, for example, again, from the zeres, the distance between the zeres, right, the pinky, and the thumb is ultimately, again, how you measure the choshen, the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol. The Gemara goes on, zu zeres, zu kamitza. I will say the finger next to the pinky. I guess we'd call it the ring finger. Good. Ring finger, I will say, what does that serve? That's the finger that you use. That's the first finger that's used for the kamitza. Remember again, when Kohen does the carbon mincha, the only part of the mincha that's burned is what you scoop up with your three fingerfuls. What goes into the kamitza first? Your ring finger. Zu amma, Rabbi say your middle finger. What is middle finger used for? No, it's not what you're thinking. Right? They'll say, so zu amma, Rabbi say, listen to this. So from the middle finger till the elbow, right? From the top of the middle finger to the elbow, Rabbi say, ultimately, again, Rashi says over here, that's ultimately an amma. That represents an amma. Not true, it's actually it's a big amma, right? But for our purpose, right? That's from top of the middle finger to the elbow, that's an amma. Zu etzba, your index finger. The etzba will say, what is the etzba used for? Blood applications. Blood applications. Zu godel. Rabbi will say, what about the thumb? So the thumb, ultimately, again, it's for blood applications for mitzorah and the inauguration of the Kohanim. So the Gemara says each finger, I will say, isn't that incredible? I will say, by the way, just like each finger has its own identity, has its own avodah, every single part of the body has its own place in avodas Hashem. Absolutely incredible. Elamatam Mishupos kiyesedos. What the Gemara is asking is, why is it that a finger is tapered like a peg? Right? So why is the finger is wider at the bottom, but as it gets to the top, ultimately it becomes more narrow? Again, Shem Yishma Adam Davar Sheno Hagun Yaniach Etzba'osav Ba'aznav. That was say incredible. Because if you hear something inappropriate, then what? You could just simply insert your finger, right? Insert here, right? Insert your finger into your ear, block it out, which Rabbi say also tells you something amazing. A person has an obligation to avoid hearing negative things. See, Rabbi say sometimes we think erroneously that as long as I'm not speaking Lashon Hara or actively like walking towards Lashon Hara, actively engaging, if I hear it, it's not a big deal. Rabbi say, we all know what happens when you hear something negative. What happens when you hear it? You can't unhear it. Right? Hearing and sight are these two things. When you see something, you can't unsee it. And when you hear something, you can't unhear it. So that's why Chazal say, if you know that something negative is about to go down, put your finger in your ear, block it out. Because once I allow myself to hear it, I cannot unhear it. It's so incredible. Why is it that the entire ear is hard, yet the earlobe is soft? Shem Yishma Adam Davar Sheno Hagun Yakuf Eileha L'Socha. The Rabbi says it's absolutely incredible, because this way, again, if you hear something negative, what can you do? Take the earlobe and just bend it in. So Rabbi will say, what do you see from here? You see, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us with two mechanisms to safeguard ourselves from hearing anything negative. One is the earlobe itself, and one is the finger. and one is the finger. That's how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be careful with what we hear. Tana Rabbanon. Al Yashmiya Adam Azar. And we'll say, by the way, the idea, so we don't have time for it now, but maybe tomorrow, the Marsha points out on this. The Marsha, you'll take a look at it on your own, a beautiful, beautiful Marsha about the idea, I will say, of why what we hearing is such a sensitive, it's such a sensitive thing. Because remember, the way hearing works, supposedly sometimes you hear something and you hear it by accident, and what you hear fundamentally changes the way that you think. Well, says, we've all had this happen. I hear something about someone, and as much as I say, right after I hear it, I say to myself, I'm not Makabel. Great. I'm not Makabel, except what? Except what? I heard it, and I can't unhear it. And as much as I try not to allow that thing to impact me, it does. It does. It's impossible for it not to impact me. Hearing is so sensitive. That's like Chazal say. You think something is about to go down, somebody's talking about something you should not hear, put that earlobe up, put that finger in. In other words, shut it down. Because if you don't shut it down in the beginning, it's going to fundamentally change the way you see the world and the way you see others. Person should not allow himself to hear Dvarim B'Teilim. We'll say, now what's Dvarim B'Teilim? Dvarim B'Teilim just means meaningless things. Right, Rabbi say, because the ears are the first thing that are burned. And the Rabbi say, the idea over here is, Rashi points out, when you burn the head of an animal, right, the first thing that gets singed are the ears. Right, the ears are the most sensitive. So Rabbi say, here the Gemara is saying something else. Don't be involved in a conversation of Dvarim B'Teilim. Rabbi say, Dvarim B'Teilim just means idle chatter. Rabbi say, do you know why? Because clinical tests have shown that idle chatter almost always turns into what? Lashon Hara. Every single time it turns into Lashon Hara. So therefore, the best thing you could do is avoid the idle chatter from the beginning. So when it's idle, even though idle is innocuous, but idle turns lethal in just a matter of moments, and therefore what? Avoid it at all costs. Boss, let's go by. So we'll say, no, we'll stop over here. We'll pick up Emirat Hashem with this short tapim. Do not worry. Emirat Hashem, we'll start on time tomorrow. Shkoyach, beautiful sugi ahead of us. Incredible Gemara. Shkoyach.